Am I the butthole for leaving a fake positive pregnancy test in the bedroom to catch my husband's mom snooping? My mill moved in with us a month ago. I began to notice my stuff in the bedroom being touched. Furniture rearranged, stuff moved, etc. I felt like I was going crazy because my husband is the only one who has access to the bedroom and he doesn't usually touch nor come near my things. I figured it must be his mom walking in and snooping on my personal things. I told my husband and he said his mom would never. I had a huge hunch but couldn't install a cam in the bedroom to catch her in act. So, I got me one of those fake positive pregnancy tests and threw it in the bedroom's trash can. Note the trash can was placed in the corner near the closet. Literally the next day after I got to work, I got tons of calls and texts from my in-laws congratulating me for my pregnancy. My husband came over to my workplace and was all worked up about it, asking since when I was pregnant, and why I didn't tell him. I asked how he found out and he said his mom found the positive test in the trash can in the bedroom. I asked if his answer just confirmed that she's been snooping in the bedroom all along. He had a realization moment but demanded we stick to the bigger issue. I said there was no bigger issue because the positive test was fake and this whole thing was done to expose my mill snooping. He was not convinced. He had me take an actual test right in front of him and he was livid, asking how could I lie about such thing and break his mom's heart since I know very well that she longs for kids. I got a lot of crap because of this from him, his mom and family now calling me a liar and manipulator. Am I the butthole? Important info, nothing gets takes or goes missing from the bedroom. Just to be clear. Not the butthole, but ordering a lock for the door and kicking Mill out seems easier. If you were preg, how dare she announce it? So many red flags, one of you needs to go and it shouldn't have to be you. Not the butthole. You told no lies. Even if you were pregnant she had no right to announce it to the world. Sounds like one of you girls should move out. I wonder which one your husband would prefer. Not the butthole. You didn't lie. You set a trap. You caught a rat. Am I the butthole for saying that I can't do any chores in December and following through? I, 30 female, run a small online business from home. November and December are my busiest time of the year when I make a lot of money that allows me to work less during the year. I've been doing this since I was 25, so I've got a decent idea of what I can and cannot do. And focusing on work only for 1 to 2 months is a sacrifice I'm willing to make for chill rest of the year. This year, I've moved in with my boyfriend, 35 male. Well, technically he moved in with me because I own the house, so it was a no-brainer for him to move in with me. We split chores half and half. He works full-time, 37.5 hours a week. When he moved in, I had a talk with him letting him know that I can't do any chores in November/December and asked if he could pick up the slack because I'm physically unable to do any chores as I can be working anything between 12 to 18 hours a day. I take a full January off to decompress. He said he doubted I work that much, but we will see. I asked again in September and October to make sure he was aware that I won't be doing anything. I meal prepped in advance, and I felt he kind of dismissed me. Mid-November, we had an argument about my chores not being done and I reminded him of what I told him. He said that he thought I wasn't being serious and told me there's no way he'd do 100% of chores because he's working too. I said fine, don't do my chores, they can wait until I have time. That's how it was when I lived alone, no problem, I don't make much mess anyway. He wasn't happy but dropped it. We haven't seen each other much because I've been working so much, but he's been more and more pissed off and blew up at me today regarding the chores. He said I had to have a better work-life balance and to grow up because the house was a mess. I told him if it was a mess it was his fault because I barely leave my office. He called me a lazy jerk. I told him Kay didn't have time for arguing and went back working. He stood in front of my locked office door shouting how he couldn't believe I was BMG serious about not doing chores and it was an butthole move to leave it all to him. He thinks I'm a major butthole for basically disappearing for 2 months and following through with not doing chores. Am I really the butthole for saying I won't do chores and following through? Sorry for any typos, I'm on mobile and my autocorrect hates me. Not the butthole. Someone who called me a lazy jerk in my house wouldn't be living in it much longer. He called you a lazy jerk? That kind of disrespect and rudeness in a relationship would not fly with me and he'd be out. Not the butthole. Wow. Your boyfriend is showing his true colors. Believe him. I know that right now you don't have time to rearrange your life, but once January comes around you should give yourself the gift of losing the deadbeat boyfriend. For what it's worth, I'm married and both me and my husband have gone through times where we had to pick up the slack for each other for whatever reason. And it's not always a work reason, there could be health issues, the birth of a child, travel and a billion other things that come up. Your boyfriend is showing you that he will throw a fit and call you names whenever he needs to support you. This is bad. Really bad. It should be a deal breaker. Anyone who called me a lazy jerk for refusing to clean up their mess when I'm working 12 to 18-hour days would be out of my house so fast that the door would hit them on the way out. Am I the butthole for refusing to take my roommate's son for few hours and causing him to miss the birth of his baby? I, 22 years/O, am in college. I live in a rental app with my roommate, Simon, 28 years/O, his 4 years/O son. The mother of the child is deceased and he got together with his now ex-GF but broke up 4 months ago. He was expecting a baby with her and the baby was born this past Wednesday. I was in the middle of studying and preparing for my exam when Simon barged in telling me his ex-GF's mom just called him and said she was in labor and he had to go to the hospital. He started begging me to take his son for few hours, probably today I learned midnight, so he could be there for his baby's birth. I declined and said I had so little time left and needed to focus on studying. He begged saying that I wouldn't even feel his son's presence but the kid's so hyperactive and hard to deal with basically. He started raising his voice at me saying I was being mean for no reason and he had no one else he knows that could take his son. I told him he could have prepared for this by hiring a babysitter. He started going off saying that I was being unhelpful on purpose. I told him to get out of my room. He said he'd just leave the kid with me then. I told him I'd call the cops as soon he'd do that, which made him back off. He was fuming. He took his son and left and came back the next day telling me that I just caused him to miss the birth of his baby and that he'll never forgive me for what I'd done. He's been avoiding me since it happened. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. If he had asked you in advance or his babysitter dropped out or something, then that would be different. The fact he knew the baby would arrive at some point and didn't make any kind of arrangements makes him the for springing it in you. What would he have done if you weren't home? Was that his plan all along, to just drop the child on you? Crazy. Do you consider him your friend? If you consider him a friend, you are 1000% the for not helping out in extremes like this. It's not a trip to the store or dentist. It's the birth of his child. He can't just do it later. Don't be surprised if this ruins y'all's friendship. Friends help. If you don't care about this dude and you only really know of him cause you share the house, then no, you are not the butthole, because you don't expect people you hardly know to watch your kid. Technically not the butthole, but good grief, where is people's compassion nowadays? Everybody sucks here. He should have had a plan in place. I'm very disturbed by this genre of am I the butthole posters who refuses to help people in emergencies. It's really distributing to see and demonstrates the strong lack of community and care for others in society. Not even in society, but people in your actually community. In your actual home. It's not your fault, but you could have helped. You're well within your rights to say no and you're not the worst person, but this is a solid butthole move. You better not even ask him for a cup of sugar moving forward. Am I the butthole for going on trip with my family that my wife isn't going on? Recently my parents surprised me, 26 male, and my siblings 16 and 19, with a ski trip this December, the day after Christmas. My parents offered to pay for my expenses and said that my wife 24 was welcome to come, but she would need to pay her way. My wife and I are okay financially, but with the trip being so close to Christmas we wouldn't be able to afford to pay for her to go. Despite this, I really wanted to go on the trip as it was always a dream of mine to go on a trip like this. My family grew up dirt poor until I was about 15 when my parents' business took off, and now they're extremely comfortable and can afford to pay for trips like this for us. They could certainly afford to pay for my wife to also go, but they have always been this way when it comes to paying for things for me versus my wife. My parents think it's only fair to pay for me when we go out to eat or go on trips because they are still paying for my siblings. I don't ask them to, but it is nice to save money, so on every trip they will pay my way room and board, excursions, meals, while my wife was expected to pay her way. This started before we were married. This has always bothered my wife, especially after we got married, and they still excluded her so in these past 2 years since we got married, so I tried to limit the trips since they bother her so much, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime trip for me, so I thought she would be supportive of me going, but she's very upset and hurt. She wants to go on the trip, but like I said, we just can't afford it, which she understands. She told me she does want me to have this experience, but she is sad because she thinks my parents purposefully exclude her. Am I the butthole for choosing to go on the trip and leave her behind? I still have time to cancel on my parents, but I know they would be sad. They could certainly afford to pay for my wife to also go, but they have always been this way when it comes to paying for things for me versus my wife. So, you are well aware that your parents are intentionally excluding your wife, and apparently, this is definitely not the first time, and you don't understand why she's so hurt and upset about this, especially when it's during Christmas? Think about it, dude. Think real hard. You're the butthole. You really think your parents don't know what they are doing here? Save up and do a similar trip with your wife as a couple if it's that important to you. You're the butthole. Am I the butthole because I want my son and Dill to spend Christmas with me? It has been 2 years since I got to spend Christmas with both my sons, 32 and 34, since both lived in different countries. My younger son has always come home for Christmas. My other son lives overseas with his wife. They didn't fly home because it was too far. Before, they would switch off Christmas between my home and my Dill's mother. This fall my Dill lost her mom. She had come home last year to spend Christmas with her mother and had driven up to visit my younger son and me, but it was weird to see just her and not my son, and my younger son said that to me where she overheard it when she was leaving and was very upset, but he didn't mean it in a bad way, just that it was weird. This year, my older son and his wife have moved back 5 hours away. But they recently told me they don't want to drive down for Christmas Eve because it will be too hard for them and they intend to only come Christmas Day for dinner, stay 2 nights, then leave. When they told me this, I didn't know what to say and I told them I was disappointed and asked why they didn't want to be there Christmas Eve. They both came at me with anger and contempt about how they didn't want to be around a big group of people but it would only be me, my boyfriend, my younger son and his girlfriend. They met my boyfriend and my younger son's girlfriend this past summer when they moved back so they're not strangers. My son said they don't have the emotional bandwidth to deal with performing and navigating the personal issues that come up in the group dynamic. They said they didn't want to have to pretend to be happy and feel bad about not feeling cheerful, and gave me an ultimatum about how if I didn't understand then they wouldn't come and just my son would come up alone for a visit after Christmas but he wasn't leaving his wife alone on Christmas Eve and day. I don't understand why they wouldn't want to be around family and friends and why they feel like my home is not a safe place for them. I set up a room for them and even told them they can eat breakfast and dinner alone in their room if that's what they need. My Dill said she didn't want to feel like she had to hide away to feel safe and that she knew she would need to cry at times like on Christmas morning and she didn't want to cry in front of people or feel like she was bringing down other people's happiness. I told her we all understand so it's fine. I couldn't handle having this conversation over email and they could have called me to talk to me about this so I bowed out. My Dill said she understood and that there were pros and cons to both phone calls and written messages but that it was important that we all talk about our feelings. But when I spoke from the heart I got ultimatums and how is me being upset and disappointed about them choosing not to spend Christmas with me so hard to understand? Am I the butthole? You're the butthole. Despite telling them otherwise, you clearly don't understand. They want to privately grieve in their own home on Christmas morning because it will be a difficult time. That's it. Fresh grief during the holiday season is a whole other beast. Stop pushing them to do things your way. It's selfish beyond belief. Learn boundaries before your son ends up deciding they won't spend any part of the holiday with you. You're the butthole. This is clearly a case of missing reasons. They have told you why they'd rather not come, you're just not accepting their choices. That's on you. You can either enjoy their company for Christmas dinner plus another 2 nights, or you can safely assume they won't come at all. You're being incredibly demanding, controlling, and manipulative. Accept their choices with grace, or risk not seeing them at all next year. My son said they don't have the emotional bandwidth to deal with performing and navigating the personal issues that come up in the group dynamic. This right here explains why they do not want to participate in the festivities so many days around Christmas. You should respect their boundaries. This isn't about you, OP. Dill is having a hard time. I'm sure this is first Christmas without her parent and I'm sure she is devastated. Everyone grieves differently, you need to respect that too. They have compromised by promising to come a few days, which I'm sure it's stressful enough for them. Why is that not enough for you? You're the butthole. Just to clarify, your eldest son and Dill were going to come to you for Christmas Day but just not Christmas Eve as well? If so, I'm struggling to see the problem you're having here. Also, I think there's some important info missing about why they feel uncomfortable in your home. You're not an off for wanting to see your family for Christmas but you would be one for not being willing to compromise so that everyone feels okay with the arrangements. If your children are offering you compromises and you're rejecting them then you're the butthole. Am I the butthole for making a scene when my son refused to dance with me? This all started when my son Ben graduated high school. There was a formal dance. I was very excited for the Motherson dance. Every time I brought it up, Ben would say he wasn't going to dance. I didn't take him seriously. I thought he was just being shy. When we got to the formal, everything was beautiful. But when it came time for the formal dances, he was nowhere to be seen. I approached my older daughter, Alice, and my husband, who I could see were talking and laughing. I asked if they'd seen Ben, and they laughed and said he was going to go hide so he didn't have to dance. I was absolutely heartbroken. My son was literally hiding from me. I stood in the corner during the Motherson dance, watching all his friends dance with their moms. I couldn't take it, so I told my husband and daughter that I was walking home. When they got home, Ben walked right past me and went to his room to get ready for the after party. My daughter hugged me, and went to get ready, because she was driving Ben to the party. After our children left, my husband and I had an argument about what happened. He said he was appalled at my behavior, and that I was acting like a child. I said that the least Ben could have done was dance with his mother. He said that today was supposed to be about him and his accomplishment, not me. But in my opinion, today should have also been about celebrating the people who helped him get to where he is now. Things got quite heated, and before going inside, my husband said that he wasn't going to force his son to do something he didn't want to do on his day. I was taken aback by this, so I just stayed on the porch trying not to cry. I thought my husband would support me. Later, my daughter returns home and sees me crying. She gives me a hug and gave me a chocolate bar to try to cheer me up. If no one else, my daughter would be on my side. She danced with me at her graduation. She danced with her father. She understood how important this day was for me. I asked if she was on my side. She said something along the lines of, "I know you're upset, but I don't know what you expected from him." It took a few days before we really spoke to each other again, and after a few weeks, everything went back to normal. Coming back to the present, my daughter recently got engaged. We were talking about it on a family FaceTime, and the topic of when Ben will get married came up. He said he was never going to get married, because he doesn't want to deal with another round of dance drama. When I asked him to clarify, he said that he was obviously referring to his graduation. I was appalled at this attack. He won't get married because of me? I won't lie, I am upset that he still does not want to dance with me, even at his own wedding. Now my husband is mad at me, my son refuses to answer my calls or texts. Am I the butthole for making a scene and starting an argument because my son never wants to dance with me? Edit. Okay, it appears as though the response is pretty unanimous, and I have a lot of thinking to do. You're the butthole. When your child said, "I don't want to dance." That should have been the end of the story. It sounds like you walk over his boundaries often, and that was one of the first times he spoke up to you about it. I was taken aback by this, so I just stayed on the porch trying not to cry. I thought my husband would support me. If no one else, my daughter would be on my side. I asked if she was on my side. I was appalled at this attack. You're the butthole, and this is not a healthy response to your kid setting a boundary that disappointed you. Am I the butthole for not wanting to go to my sister's wedding because of my insomnia? My sister, let's call her Hannah, isn't speaking to me right now because I RSVP'd no to her wedding in January. My mom wants me to change my RSVP, but honestly the wedding isn't going to be possible for me to attend, and based on how my sister is acting, I don't want to go anymore. Ever since I hit puberty I've had really bad insomnia. I usually go to bed around 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and wake up around 1 p.m., 2 p.m. I've tried to change my sleep style and I just can't. It's like dealing with international jet lag. Hannah knows this, but always forgets and tries to wake me up for family things whenever she visits home, and I have to lock my bedroom door and really work to keep her out. When I got the invitation for Hannah's wedding I was super excited for her, because she has always wanted a big wedding, and it looks like she is going to get it, and that might not be what I want/would want, but she does, and that is exciting, and I can acknowledge that. But then I saw the timeline and there's a wedding brunch at 10 a.m., the ceremony is at noon, and then there's an afternoon party. I asked Hannah if I could just come to the afternoon party, since I will be sleeping at 10 a.m., and she got furious and started yelling over the phone about how, since I'm her sister, I need to be there for the ceremony. I laughed and told her there was no way I could be there on time, because it would basically be like trying to get someone on a 9-to-5 work schedule to attend an event at 2 a.m. I probably shouldn't have laughed, but it just felt so ridiculous. If she wanted me to be there for the whole thing, she needed to plan for a time when I could actually attend. I work a full-time job as a freelancer, just not normal hours because of my insomnia, so it really bugs me when people act like my time is worth less than theirs. But now wedding preparations are happening at the house, the brunch is going to be here, and my mom is really upset with me for not coming to the wedding. She wants me to apologize to Hannah and be one of her bridesmaids. Hannah isn't speaking to me at all, but she is speaking to our mom, so maybe that is what she also wants, but I just feel like she owes me the apology, not the other way around. But I might be wrong, because this is the first big fancy wedding in our family, and maybe I need to suck it up because it's a tradition to have a morning breakfast or something. Am I the butthole? Edit. Okay, that was universal. Am I the butthole? I will apologize to Hannah and ask if I can still attend the wedding. I think it is probably best if I'm not a bridesmaid, but I can still put on a dress and show up even if I am tired. Thank you to everyone that sent in medical tips. I am realizing that I need to get a second opinion that isn't our family doctor, because she is actually kind of dismissive about my sleep issues, and I used to like that because she made my mom calm down and she supported me with a doctor's note for online high school. But some of you mentioned high blood pressure and delayed sleep phase disorder, and I want to talk to someone who is at least willing to investigate that with me. Edit 2. Sorry, I meant I am the butthole is universal and I get it. You're the butthole, for expecting events to be planned around you, for laughing, and for not caring enough about her wedding to consider talking to a doctor for help. If this happened in puberty, how did you attend high school? Info: if you're sleeping a regular schedule of 6 a.m. to 1 p.m., of 7 to 8 hours, then that doesn't sound like insomnia. It sounds like you just have your sleep schedule off. Have you talked to a doctor about this? Do you have a diagnosis? You're the butthole. I have a delayed circadian rhythm, and it can suck, but I don't expect people to plan their weddings in the afternoon so I don't have to wake up early for one day. People with diurnal schedules will adjust those sleep schedules for specific events. We nocturnal folks can too. Info: has a doctor actually diagnosed this as insomnia? Because you are sleeping, just not at regular hours, which could be caused by any number of medical conditions. Either way, you're still not in the right here. Am I the butthole for not wearing my Mill's wedding dress and not compromising on a dress she likes? English is not my first language, so I apologize for all mistakes in advance. My Mill, who is usually very sweet and nice, asked me to try on her wedding dress as she wanted to gift it to me for the wedding. I did not want to hurt her, and so I tried on the dress, even though I knew that I wanted to buy my own dress. I fit it quite well and looked pretty, but not what I was looking for at all. So I thanked Mill for the opportunity and the gesture, but that it was not what I envisioned myself wearing on my wedding day. But that she was welcome to join me and my mom the next day when we were looking for wedding dresses. She joined us and I thought everything was fine. But during the shopping she tried to make me try on dresses similar to her wedding dress, but more my style. I tried 2 of her picks but stated that it was still not what I was looking for, even though I liked it a little better on me than her dress. And I thanked her for helping me. She got quiet and only shrugged her shoulders over the other dresses I tried on. I finally found my dream dress, bought it. I am paying about €2,000 and my parents paid about €300 for shoes and a veil. My in-laws don't pay anything towards the dress or the wedding, and then we went to eat lunch together. Mill was still unusually quiet, so I asked what was wrong and if I could help her. She shrugged her shoulders and said it's fine, and I thought she needed a little time for her. So I started a conversation with my mom and started eating after we all got our food. We did not exclude her and tried to make her a part of our conversation. But she just shrugged and moped. A few minutes into lunch she said, "You were ungrateful, spoiled brat." And I was utterly confused and asked why. That's what she said. "I would have gifted you my dress, but it wasn't good enough for little miss. I want a new dress." That's ungrateful. And I tried to find a compromise with a dress that matched our both tastes in a dress, and you still denied all that. You're so ungrateful and impolite. Not even able to make a compromise. Then she stood up, paid for her meal and left without me being able to say anything. I asked my fiancé later that day about it and he told me to not vary as I did nothing wrong. But Sil texted me that I was an ungrateful butthole for hurting her mother this much and not compromising on anything. Am I the butthole? Update. 1. My fiancé already talked to her. I believe 3 or 4 days ago. But thanks for the suggestion. 2. My Mill called me just a few minutes ago to apologize. To me it sounded sincere. She told me that she was disappointed that day because she wanted to be a part of all that at my wedding day, and she did not know how to ask since my parents already said they pay for my veil and shoes. And she knew that I don't wear jewelry except my engagement ring and a necklace my fiancé gifted me 8 years ago, so she couldn't give something like this. And she did not want to gift me a garter, since she thought it inappropriate to gift her dill something like that. And that she was hurt after trying to give input on my dress and was rejected. She apologized again and then asked to treat me and my mom to lunch tomorrow as an apology for her behavior, and that she wants to offer, if I am up for it, that she pays for my bridal bouquet. So tomorrow we are going out for lunch and after that to a florist so I can show her the flowers I like and the idea I have for my bouquet. I thank you all for your judgments. Not the butthole. Why the frick would you compromise? You're not her kid who might like the history behind it, and really every bride wants to be special in their own wedding dress. Not the butthole. This is your future BTW. She won't get any better as time goes on. Mill is way out of line. You're not the butthole. Am I the butthole for lying to my wife because I didn't want her to attend my company Christmas party? I feel like crap right now, but here we go. I work for a pretty pretentious company where everyone tries to kiss the boss's ass. We have a huge holiday party every year. It is always a fancy venue, cocktail attire, and great food. When I first started working there it was something I was excited to take my wife to, but it is now something I dread. My wife gets herself so stressed over it that she is miserable for weeks leading up to it. She agonizes over what to wear, always goes over budget, and spends the whole day on hair and makeup. Then when we get there she honestly embarrasses me, and again I feel like crap. Every year she tries so hard to befriend my boss's wife, who clearly wants nothing to do with her and literally looks at her husband like, "Save me." I always feel my boss is laughing at me. Then she spends the next couple days making fun of my boss's wife and calling her a jerk, which I'm terrified is going to get back to them, because you know how gossip works. It's all very hard for me to watch. I have tried to talk to her about her behavior, but she gets defensive and nothing changes. This year I just couldn't take it. I told her there wasn't going to be a party, just a lunch during the workday for employees only. My plan was to go alone and make an excuse for her. I hate lying, but I felt I'd given her multiple chances to change her behavior, so what am I going to do? At this point she is hurting my career and hurting herself mentally. Unfortunately she found out and is obviously furious. She feels I took away a huge night from her, and is very hurt that I am embarrassed by her behavior. Maybe not very popular, but I say not the butthole. You have talked to your wife several times about this, and still she doesn't listen. It could harm your career. Talk to her again and keep repeating why you did this, then maybe she will get the hint. At this point she is hurting my career and hurting herself mentally. Not the butthole. You're being responsible. Tell her you're sorry for lying. Take her to a dolled up expensive outing and do it annually, the week after the office party. Of course she's hurt and you shouldn't have lied. But, some people need saving from themselves. And, of course, you need to protect your career for both you and your wife. Good luck, OP. Sorry you won't be having sex for the next 2 months. He. Unfortunately she found out and is obviously furious. She feels I took away a huge night from her, and is very hurt that I am embarrassed by her behavior. Not the butthole. She should be grateful to you for sparing her what sounds like actual hell. Everybody sucks here, but I don't know if I can blame you here. You shouldn't have lied, but also your wife should really act more appropriately and take the hint at this party. Am I the butthole for refusing to help my mother unless she sues my father for the child support he owes? My mom loves being a martyr. She raised me by herself after my father left. She refused to take him to court for child support and instead let me grow up not in poverty but not exactly well. I had food and clothing and a roof over my head. I also started having to provide for myself when I started babysitting. I was earning money so I could afford to pay for some of my own things like school fees and such. I got out when I was 16. I moved in with her sister, my aunt. My aunt helped me get my act together and get into college. She helped me get a judgment against my father for child support. He never paid it. She helped me apply for scholarships. She helped me save my money to start my business after I graduated. I am doing well now and my mom is getting close to retirement. She recently contacted me and asked if I could help her out. She had worked herself to the bone supporting me growing up and she feels like I owe her. I told her that she probably has less money than she could because she never bothered collecting child support. She screamed at me that she had made her decision to cut my father out of her life and that I needed to respect it. So I told her that there was an existing judgment against him for child support. It was worth a fair bit of money and all she had to do was get a lawyer to get it for her. She hasn't called me for money since. But she also has not tried to collect the money he owes her. I regularly stop by to see my aunt and take her shopping for groceries and household goods. I pay because I owe her. She took me in and helped me for 2 years of high school and 6 of college. My mom has been complaining to her about me, but my aunt also thinks that my mom has been leaving money on the table long enough. Answers to questions I know I will be asked. I am an affair baby. My father is still married to his wife. I am 100% his child. He is on my birth certificate and there is DNA evidence. My mom is a healthcare aide. I am an accountant. To the best of my knowledge he never gave her any money. Or if he did it wasn't enough to make our lives any easier. I got the judgment but never sought to get it enforced. I just wanted it for backup. My mom says that I'm in butthole for second guessing her choices and not helping her. I told her I would after she collected from him. Not the butthole. It's your father who owes your mother the money she is lacking. If she didn't do what she needed to do to get the money he owes her, and still won't pursue it after someone even got the ball rolling for her, it's on her now. Not the butthole. The money was for your welfare, and no matter how she felt about your father she should have had the money collected for your benefit. Clearly it would have made a difference to your early life. Not the butthole. A child does not owe their parents for the parents' life choices. You didn't ask to be born. Am I the butthole for telling the entire family that my brother is getting married after he made the wedding on my son's birthday? I am one of 6 kids, but this post is about my younger brother, 40. I have 4 kids, 20F, female, 18, female, 15 10 meters. My brother has 5, 16F, male, 15, female, 12, female, 3 4 MoF. We don't get together often because my girls and his oldest don't get along and because we're a 4-hour plane ride from each other. My son's birthday is around Thanksgiving. We're always with my family on Thanksgiving and we always have a big family party for his birthday. My brother is a busy person, owns a large company, so I was asking him what day he'd be available for the party. He wasn't available any day, which I thought was weird considering he always tries to meet with me / the rest of our family around Thanksgiving. Then I got a text from a mutual friend asking what I was wearing to my brother's wedding and if I had any ideas for a gift since she couldn't find a registry. I asked her what she was talking about and my friend told me that he was getting married. I didn't even know he was engaged. He told us last year that he was in a relationship and they had just had a child together but nothing about getting married. After some digging, I found out that the wedding would be on my son's birthday and only 2 of our siblings/their kids are invited. I thought this was incredibly rude of him, so I decided to tell the entire family at Thanksgiving that he was getting married, when, and where. Some family members made an appearance at his wedding and he found out I was the one who told them about it. He called me the next day screaming at me for ruining his wedding, then blocked me on everything. I'm starting to feel bad, so I wanted to know if I was the butthole. Edit, I'm seeing that some people are confused. First of all, my brother didn't want a small wedding. There were at least 300 to 400 people at the wedding. Second, the wedding was not on Thanksgiving. It was on my son's birthday, which is very close to Thanksgiving. You're the butthole. Holy moly. Clearly he has a reason for not inviting you and the other family. Maybe do some self-reflection into that. You maliciously told your family. They crashed his wedding. I hope your apples fall far away from the tree. You're the butthole. There's a reason he didn't tell or invite part of his family. I would be livid if someone told the toxic members of my family I was getting married. The fact that they actually went, not being invited, says a ton about how toxic they are. Never disrespect someone's right to go no contact. You're the butthole. It is never your place to make announcements on behalf of other people without their permission. You guys clearly aren't that close, so why should he care that it's your son's birthday? You're the butthole. It sounds like your brother has gone LC, now no contact, with you and other members of your family, and in any case is not obligated to invite you or anyone else to his wedding. More to the point, absolutely no one is required to schedule their wedding around your son's birthday party. It would be one thing if you shared the info with your family as a curiosity, but you clearly state you found his entirely not rude behavior to be rude and spitefully shared all his wedding info, clearly to have your people crash it, which they then did. Am I the butthole for not congratulating my ex on the birth of his baby? I, 22 female, was in a relationship with Kyle, 25 male, for over a year when Ella, 23 female, came into the picture. I am so very sure that there was no cheating going on. Kyle wasn't being secretive, he wasn't hiding anything, and none of our friends seemed to be lying to me. So I was very heartbroken when he broke up with me, and shock horror got with Ella a few weeks later. Now I'm a socially anxious introvert, so hiding from them and my friends was easy. I threw myself into work and my hobbies and did everything I could to avoid them all due to the fact that Kyle and I share a friend group. Luckily, I had my best friend Jenna, 21 female, by my side and 100% on my side. Fast forward a year, Kyle and Ella announced their pregnancy to the world. Seeing the Facebook post made me feel like I was being broken up with all over again. The baby was born last month, and whilst our friends have congratulated them and gone to see the baby, Jenna and I haven't. I understand that the baby is innocent, but I wouldn't be able to be in the same room as Kyle and Ella. Ella messaged me a few nights ago telling me that I was a heartless jerk for not being happy for them and that I should have at least congratulated Kyle. Jenna saw these messages and sent one of her own to Ella, basically saying that Ella has no right to demand anything from me after she ruined my relationship. Jenna has reassured me day after day that I didn't need to say anything to either of them, but it's been eating away at me. Am I the butthole, Reddit? Not the butthole. Ella is nuts. I can't imagine caring what my partner's ex thinks about my new baby. If I was her, I'd be annoyed if you contacted your ex. Even to say congrats. Not the butthole. Why did she go out of her way to message you about a congratulations that you didn't give? That's very weird. Am I the butthole for not letting my husband have any of my banana bread anymore? Whenever I, 29 female, have bananas that are close to going bad, I like to make them into banana bread. I make really, really good banana bread. However, my husband, 31 male, has this complex about eating baked goods with edges. He always has to eat the middle brownie, or slice of cake, etc. So, when the banana bread is cool enough to cut into, my husband goes in and cuts out the middle 1 to 2 inches to eat. He won't touch any other part of the bread. I don't mind eating the ends, but I never get to eat the middle, which is in my opinion the tastiest part, and worse, it causes the rest of the bread to dry out within a day, which I have to eat alone because my husband won't touch the remains of his pillage. Keep in mind, I'm the one doing all the work to make this bread, as well as all the cleanup. I've asked my husband not to do this, but he doesn't seem to care. So, I just made a banana bread, and when he asked me if it was done, I informed him he isn't allowed to have any if he can't start cutting from the end like a civilized person. I've been living with his banana bread shenanigans for years, and I've had enough. My husband says I'm being ridiculous. Am I the butthole? Edit, my husband has seen this post and we had a good laugh about how almost everyone took my side, much to his surprise. No guarantee he'll be changing his ways in the immediate future, but I've been given a lot of good tips on how to get revenge, so we'll see down the line. Not the butthole at all lol. Get revenge. Make batter into muffins and eat all the tops. Not the butthole. Your husband is for always stealing the best part for himself. Suggestion, make banana bread but in a bundt cake mold. All edge pieces / no end pieces. Is your husband serious? I can't help but laugh here because I'd probably start swinging if someone cut the middle part of my cake / loaf / treat out. Not the butthole. Not the butthole. If he wants to only eat middles of breads, he can bake his own and compost the ends or donate them to someone with backyard chickens or pigs. Get one of those brownie all edge pieces pans and make a batch that's all ends. Reduce the bake time so that it's still tasty. Would I be the butthole if I complained to the landlord about my roommate's service dog? I, 20 female, live in an apartment with 3 roommates. My new roommate Gina, 24 female, has a service dog, a medium-sized crossbreed dog named Lulu. Gina moved in around 2 months ago, after our last roommate moved out. I don't know how long Gina has had Lulu, but she is extremely poorly behaved and untrained, and it makes me severely doubt the authenticity of her being a service dog, not that it really matters. Our building has a very strict no pets policy, so Lulu is the only animal in the apartment. In the 2 months that Gina has lived here, her dog has caused all kinds of problems which I'm gonna put into a list. 1. When Gina leaves and goes to work, Lulu barks for hours at a time nonstop, and Gina works night shifts. This has gotten us loads of complaints off our angry neighbors, and me and my other roommates bear the brunt of it. 2. Lulu has destroyed our furniture, including the couch and dining room chairs. She has also destroyed the carpet in the living room. Bye-bye deposit. 3. On 5 different occasions Lulu has peed or pooped on the floor in the communal area, and Gina won't clean it up for hours until she's been prodded and asked over and over. 4. At one point when I wasn't home, Gina let Lulu into my room and she chewed up my shoes, and Gina refused to replace them, and said it was my fault for keeping them on the floor within a dog's reach. I asked her why she even let Lulu into my room, and she said she had a few drinks, got confused and thought it was her room. Me and my other roommates have talked to Gina about these issues, and she just acts like they're not a problem and we're just overreacting. I'm considering making a complaint to the landlord about this. Although I don't mind living with a dog, I think this is too much and it is unfair on the rest of us living here. I know service dogs are important and such, but I don't think it's reasonable to expect your roommates to put up with an extremely badly behaved dog. I talked to my other 2 roommates, one of them agrees that we need to complain to the landlord, but my other roommate thinks we should leave it, because it will just rock the boat and make Gina mad, and she may make everything worse on purpose. Edit to add, so I'm not sure about the laws in the USA, but we live in the UK, and here, tenants with service dogs can be evicted if their dog is causing property damage that the tenant can't / won't pay to fix, or being a nuisance to other tenants or neighbors, but the landlord does need evidence of it. I know I'm within my rights to complain to the landlord and stuff, but I just want to know if morally it would make me in butthole. Not the butthole. That's not a service dog. That's an uncared for and untrained pet with a horrible owner. That's not a service dog. That's a pet. She's using the service dog protection laws to sneak into non-pet friendly apartments. Even if we ignore the atrocious behavior, which is a dead giveaway, she doesn't bring it to work. The whole point of a service dog is that you need to have it for whatever medical reason you have. I can't think of a single reason that would make someone need a service dog, but only when they're home. I don't know what you can do, but people like Gina is why people with legitimate service dogs have so much trouble. Not the butthole. Am I the butthole for refusing to give my cousin-in-law my Taylor Swift ticket? I, 17 female, recently got Taylor Swift tickets for her Eras tour. Now, as you probably know, it was very difficult to get these tickets, and I actually waited 5+ hours in the Ticketmaster queue to get them. I've loved Taylor Swift since I was 2 years old. My cousin, John, 29 male, recently got married to his wife Jane, 27 female, and I attended the wedding with my parents. At the wedding, another cousin of mine asked me whether or not I got tickets, and I excitedly said yes. John overheard and pulled me aside and asked me if there was any chance I'd be willing to give my ticket to his wife, as she also tried to get tickets but didn't manage to get any. I said that I waited a long time to get my ticket and that I didn't want to give it up because, as he knows, I love Taylor Swift and I'm really excited about going to the concert with my friends. He seemed disappointed but ultimately walked away. I went back to my table and thought nothing of it. Then John and Jane had their first dance, which was to Taylor Swift's Lover. At the end of the dance, he got the microphone and told everyone at the wedding that I had so kindly decided to give Jane my Taylor Swift ticket as a wedding gift. Jane started crying and said I was the best cousin ever and that I made her wedding day 10 times better. I stood there in shock, and I asked if I could speak to her in private, but she brushed me off. I tried to talk to John too, but he ignored me. My whole family kept coming up to me and saying how mature I was for giving my ticket to Jane and how it was the perfect way to welcome her to the family. I told them that I never said I'd give her my ticket and I was planning on keeping it and going with my friends, like I had originally planned. Word got back to John and Jane actually started sobbing and saying that I was selfish for not giving her my ticket and that since I didn't get her a wedding gift, the least I could do is give her my ticket. I stood my ground and said that I did not owe her anything. John then said that I've already seen one of Taylor's concerts before and that Jane hasn't, so it's only fair that I give her my ticket. I said that I understand that it was really frustrating to wait in that queue only to not get tickets, but it wasn't my job to make sure that Jane did and that if they were patient, the scalper prices might go down by the show and she might be able to snag tickets then. John screamed at me to leave and said that I ruined his wedding. Some of my family has been messaging me saying I'm a selfish jerk for ruining Jane's wedding and I should have waited until after the wedding to tell her that I wasn't giving her my ticket. Others, including my parents, agree that I had no obligation to give up my ticket. I hate conflict though, and a part of me wonders whether I should have just let her have the ticket. So am I the butthole? Not the butthole. John was trying to pull a fast one and thought he could bully you into giving up your ticket. Good for you for standing fast. He picked the venue to announce, you wanted to correct it right away. I don't blame you for that. He ruined his own wedding. Not the butthole, your ticket, not your obligation. Also they're really mean for making it like you did give her the ticket thinking you wouldn't call them out, lol. Not the butthole. Making a very public announcement after you told him no was a super crappy move. Your cousin is a huge AH. Not the butthole. That was extremely manipulative of him and crossed way past the line. Sucks for the bride, and hard to say if she was part of the original deception, but her response certainly doesn't make her look good. But if you hadn't addressed it on the spot, he could have claimed that you were lying later because you didn't say anything at the time. Am I the butthole for asking my husband not to invite friends of his that I didn't know to my 30th birthday party? So for my 30th I wanted a party. Nothing huge, and family friendly since I have kids. I made a list and before I knew it I had 60 people on it. Which is like, a lot considering our small home. So it was gonna be somewhat of an outdoor party. Husband thought I was making a big deal out of my party, since I undertook all the planning and was excited about it. He didn't offer to help but wasn't against it. He wanted to invite people he knew that I didn't. That felt weird to me, so I said I would rather he didn't. Already I had invited so many people and that would mean a lot of cupcakes I would have to make. Not to mention that I felt like my attention would be limited for interactions with new people. He insisted a bit that I would like them, but I finally just said I'd like to get to know them in a different setting, not my 30th birthday party. He sulked a bit. He mentioned it to his parents that I didn't let him invite people, so he definitely had a chip on his shoulder. And today, weeks later, he brings it up again to highlight my controlling nature, telling me he has discussed the matter with people who are qualified in counseling, and that those conversations were eye-opening. He didn't say more because he was going off on a tangent and I told him I didn't want to hear any more. So, am I the butthole? No, not the butthole. He can throw another get-together. WTF is up with so many adults running to their parents when they have a disagreement with their spouse? And then assuming the parents' opinions matter. It's weird, but maybe that's the society we live in now. Not the butthole, it was your party, it was already 60 people for goodness sake and you offered to meet them on another occasion. As long as your husband has at least a few people present that he knew and liked, you're fine. But his reaction is concerning. Tattling to his parents, holding a grudge and calling you controlling? OP, have you heard of Darvo? Is this behavior isolated or part of a pattern? Not the butthole, it's her birthday party, she should be able to choose who goes. The fact that the husband keeps bringing it up as controlling is quite ironic, as it's controlling of him to try and decide who is invited to her birthday party. Also, he didn't need to involve parents or people who are qualified in counseling. Notice how he didn't just say counselors, on something like this. At the end of the day it was your choice, plain and simple. Not the butthole, you don't generally invite random people the birthday person doesn't know to a birthday party. Also, if I were invited to a party of someone I didn't know I might think it was a bit of a gift grab. Most people bring presents to birthday parties after all.